Okay, so I do believe that we are live. So we wanted to do a really fun ghost stories type video tonight. And so I'm here with one of my interns, the Deadly Reptile Man, and one of my large female Smith eyes is just hanging out with us here. Don't kick hairs on me. And so she had requested some spooky Halloween type stories. And so you guys have seen, well, I would assume some of you guys have seen the video that I did about the paranormal experience in Roswell. And so that was actually a photo shoot that I was doing. And when we were reviewing some of the photographs, we actually saw some eerie ghostly images in the back. And so that's a pretty wacky video. It was interesting because some people were pretty creeped out when we were on the location. And it's kind of an abandoned area, a forested area. We knew that people had passed away, frozen to death down there and things like that. So that's kind of spooky. But we've been talking, just our crew recently, and somebody has some pretty haunting stories. So really quick, I wanted to, I'm kind of far away from the computer, but we've got a few guests on here already on the stream. It looks like Brian and TJ. Yeah. And a couple of Tarantula Tink. And help me out there who the...
It's not English.
And somebody else is watching. So we can see the little chat feed. And so let us know if you guys have questions or comments as you're going. And we'll try to be watching that. So, Deadly Reptile Man, tell us about some of the kind of spooky supernatural experiences that you've had in your life. And where did they occur? Was it in the Philippines? Was it in the US? Tell us everything.
So it happened first in Carlsbad whenever
In your life. And
whenever I transferred there. I think that was like 2016, 2017, I guess. But then it was like after my sister's birthday. It was like 11. It was December 22nd, 11. It's at 11 p.m. and then because I was planning to go to sleep at 11 p.m. and then I woke up. You know this strange feeling when you're like sleeping, but you have this feeling that you're still awake, and then it's like you just closed your eyes or something. And then what happened is it was like at 3 p.m. because after this happened, I checked the time, and 3 a.m. I check up the time, and then
really quick, Junjun is watching from the Philippines. So hi, Junjun.
What's up, Junjun?
And Bella just got on, so thank you guys. Okay, so go on.
Anyway, so we were living in an apartment, and there was like 3 rooms. So the first room, it was like the master's bedroom. It was like my mom and dad. And the second room, it was like my sister and brother. And then the third room, it was my room because I don't want anyone to my room. I want to be by myself. Anyway, so when that happened, I was like hearing a baby laughing. Like, I heard a baby crying, and she was like. So I tried, but anyway, at first it was cute, but then I just realized that we didn't have any baby in our apartment.
Whoa.
So I was like, wait a minute, this is suspicious. And then when I keep on hearing the baby crying, she was like getting closer to my bedroom, and it's like it's like crying like that. And then suddenly I was like laying in my bed and I was like laying on my side just like that. And the baby just went beside me and started crying on my ear, and then it got louder and louder, and I was like, oh, creepy. Anyways, so whenever it was like crying like that, it stopped for a moment like, ah, and then it started like,
Ooh.
it started laughing like that, and I could feel because it's not like a sleep paralysis type of thing, but because if you're really like in a sleep paralysis condition, you're not supposed to move. It's like you're paralyzed, and then you're supposed to be paralyzed, and then you have a heavy breathing feeling in the chest. So this, in my situation, I was like moving all around, and I could feel it. Then I didn't consider it as a sleep paralysis. So
So, do you think you were really awake?
I was really awake because like I just closed my eyes, and then I could really feel my surroundings. I could feel the air. I could feel everything. And it wasn't like a dream, because if you were really in a dream, you could feel like you're really dead or tired.
Yeah.
But this one is like I could move everywhere, and I know I'm avoiding that feeling. And then so anyway, when it started laughing, the baby started laughing. It was like saying some Latin words or some demonic words, like some sort of like that. And I was like, what is this? What am I feeling? So I was still on my side, laying like that. And then suddenly, after going to my other side, it started poking me like that. And I could feel it. Like I could feel the poking thing. It's like trying to tease me or something. It's like it wants me to see him, like open your eyes or something like that. And after that, it started going to the other side where I'm facing towards the other side, and then it started going to my face, and he was like, started saying Latin words or something, or some demonic forms. And then I faced on the other side because I don't want to be in front of him, because it's like really, really creepy. I don't want to see his face, you know? So whenever I was like on my side already, he started still poking me like that, still poking me, and started laughing, keeps on laughing, like it want to tease me for something. And it wants me to open my eyes to see him. And that was really creepy because I was like, I don't want this no more.
Wow, that sounds really terrifying. So, did you just like play dead pretty much?
No, I was like, I tried to play dead, but that thing knows I'm aware of the situation.
Ooh.
So after he started poking me, he's like, I was like in this underground feeling, and this is my body, and then I tried to rise up like that, and then I could feel the air like it's burning through my skin. I could feel everything. There are some screams. There are people who are like burning in the flames, some sort of, and I'm just like, what is that? What was that? Like it's so creepy.
Oh,
And
wow.
and after those times has been happening, it got silent for 15 minutes, and I try not to open my eyes, but I try to observe if it's gonna happen again. So for 15 minutes, I started opening my eyes, and I was so dehydrated. So I was like sweating so bad, and when I woke up, I saw like in my right shoulder there was like a bruise. So I was like, oh, that's suspicious now.
Oh my gosh.
And then after I woke up, I could hear some whispers like some sort of like that. And I tried to go to my parents' room. I was like, Mom, Dad, what's going on?
Wow.
I don't want to be here. It's like my first time, so it was like really, really creepy. And then I tried to check my phone. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I was like, oh.
So do you think it was like a demonic spirit?
I think so, because he's like ginormous, and I'm just
really
like a little.
Scary.
I'm just like a small spirit floating in there. It's trying to get. It's like trying to get my soul away from my body already.
So you told me another story. I think you said it was in the Philippines about some dark figure that was in your room.
Oh, so when me and my sister were sleeping already in our bedroom, so my sister was like, I told my sister to go to bed already, to go to sleep. And then
we've got some people chiming in on the comment feed. So Bella said that sounds scary. TJ's Exotic said that would be the creepiest thing I've ever heard. And then that the tarantulas are awesome. Roberta Merritt came on and said, we hear footsteps in our house all the time, day and night, doesn't matter. They sound like somebody very large walking in the other room. Okay, so continue on.
Anyway, so when we were like in the Philippines and me and my sister were trying to go to sleep already because like it's late at night, and then my sister was like, "What is that?" It's like a shadow, and then she was like, "Is that a devil or something?" And I was like, I look at the shadow, and it has horns, like huge horns like that.
Mm.
And when I told my sister, "No, you're just imagining things. Go to sleep." And then when I look at the shadow, it just vanished. Like it just vanished already. It's not there
Wow.
anymore.
So here's an interesting story that Hank, my other intern, told us the other night. So he was saying when he was little, he lived on like Native American tribal lands up by Santa Fe, and that there was an old convent. So like an abandoned monastery, or no, maybe that's where monks live. But so it was like an old Catholic school that was totally run down, and just a couple of old nuns lived there that had lived there for years and years. And so those nuns lived there in the big abandoned school until they passed away. And so after that, the building was just abandoned. And so Hank's father worked in law enforcement. And so I don't know if they lived like on the property or nearby. I don't know if it was while he was on patrol or if he kind of did it as a favor. But there were people, vagrants, that would go into the convent, and they would, sleep in there, stay in there, and probably vandalize things like that. And so his dad had noticed some activity in there, as if someone was staying in there. And so he left a note, and he said, this is private property, no trespassing, you need to move out tomorrow morning. So basically he knew that they were probably going to go back there to sleep, and he was saying, yes, you can have shelter for the night, and then you need to move it along. So later that evening, and I think Hank said he was around 6 years old, his dad said, oh, I need to go check and see if that person is there. Let's go look. So, Hank was just a little boy. And so this was in tribal lands. Are often Native American people are often much more spiritually connected. And so you hear a lot more stories about people interacting with spirit life in those regions. And so a lot of times people are a little more awakened, and spirits are more active maybe. So they went in there, and it was a homeless man, and he was there, and his dad was telling him, you can't stay here, this is private property. And he spoke with the man and actually said, well, it's okay if you stay here for a night or two, but you can't live here and you need to move on. And so they were kind of chatting a little bit, and so Hank was just sort of scuffing his heels on the ground and looking around, and he did see another man with a large stature kind of at the end of the hall, just sort of hanging around, just kind of observing the situation. And neither of the adults were acknowledging this other person, but Hank was kind of watching him at this point because he was kind of a large, formidable figure, and he was wondering, why no one was speaking with him. And so he really started paying attention, and all of a sudden that man started walking abruptly toward him and started running toward him, and then right before it got to him, just vanished. And he said that he started crying, and he was really upset, and he was trying to tell his dad what happened. And I don't know if he wasn't able to explain, being a little kid, what he saw. But at first, he didn't get any kind of like malicious feeling from it. He just really just thought it was a person. He said it didn't look transparent. It didn't feel evil, so he thought it was just a man standing there. But then obviously, you know, when it started running toward him, he got scared, and then it just completely vanished. And at that point, he was terrified. And so I thought that that was a pretty spooky story. Oh, tell us about the story when you and your friends were driving and you appeared to be kind of passing the same things over and over again.
Oh, so back in Philippines, me and my friends decided to, excuse me, decided to go out of town and just hang out for some certain point. And it was like at night, late at night, because we usually go out at night. And then suddenly when we reached the other town, the one we're gonna go to, it's like we just noticed that we keep on going the same thing all over again. It's like on a loop. So, oh, what's up, Rukia? Anyway, so when we were like going to the place that we wanted to go, but we were just wondering that we keep on reaching the same destination over and over again. It's like we're in the loop. Then we tried to observe it for the sixth time, and we were like, that's the same house that we keep on seeing. It's like, why do we keep on going back on this same place all over again? And we were like, this is creepy, bro. This is creepy. We gotta go home now. Then we try to go home, but it's like we still keep on reaching the same house all over again. So I was like, ooh. But then after the seventh try or eighth try, we just didn't go back to the loop again. And we were just like wondering what happened. Like, what was that? What was it all about? Or are we just crazy to know that we're in a loop or something?
Interesting. So I had kind of a similar experience one time, quite a few years ago. So I was going to get someone from the airport in Albuquerque, which is 3 or 4 hours from here. And to drive, Roswell is hundreds of miles from really any other city. Albuquerque is one of the biggest cities in in New Mexico. So to get to Albuquerque, you drive north through a little village called Vaughn, and then you turn at a truck stop called Klein's Corners, and then you drive in one direction to Albuquerque. And so my guest arrived. They were anxious to get back here with me to my house. And so this was a person who likes shopping and going out to eat. And so I sort of half expected to spend the afternoon in Albuquerque. But that day she had said, no, let's just get some drive-through food or something and head out of town. And so from the airport, it's pretty fast to get right onto the freeway. And so we actually left Albuquerque immediately. And there's a little suburb called Edgewood. So you can just pull right off the road and go into the off-ramp to McDonald's right there. So we literally did a circle off of the freeway and got hamburgers and just continued driving. So we got to Klein's Corners in about an hour, just right on schedule, and then we turned right to come through Vaughn and go to Roswell. It's a straight shot. And time was passing, and she noticed a little black. Well, first I noticed a little black kitten on the side of the road, and people do abandon animals out on the side of the road, and it's sad, but I didn't stop or anything. I thought maybe it lived at a ranch off of the road or something. So about 20 minutes later, and New Mexico, the area I live in, it's prairie, it's very flat. Looks the same kind of as you go on and on and on. And so there are landmarks occasionally, like there might be an old barn out by the road, or there aren't even really curves in the road or bumps in the road. Like it's not hilly, it's very flat. And so we're just kind of driving along, and then my mother-in-law, she said, oh, look, a little black kitten. And I looked, and it appeared to be the same black kitten. And then she was asking, when are we going to get home? I thought that you know, Roswell was only 3.5 hours from Albuquerque, and at this point we'd been driving for about 5 hours. And I said, well, maybe we passed through Vaughn and I didn't even notice, which it's not possible because everyone stops there to get gas or at least, you know, stretch their legs or something. It's a couple of gas stations. And she said, well, you obviously took a wrong turn because we're just driving and not getting there. And I told her, there's no wrong turn. You just go to Klein's Corners and then you turn right. And you go right until you get to Roswell. And so we drove, and then we saw the kitten again. So we ended up being on about a 1 hour stretch for about 6 hours. And then finally we arrived at Vaughn. And then an hour and a half later, just the normal time span, we had arrived home. And so it was really interesting because time continued passing. And my car was on cruise control. It's not like I was driving really slowly or I had not gone the wrong way. So there was really no rational explanation. Also, we weren't seeing any other cars at that time, which is kind of a deserted, desolate road. But you do see cars passing, you know, occasionally. And so some people think we were abducted by aliens. Some people think that we were just in some weird solar time loop or something. And I really don't know. But I do know if I was abducted by aliens and probed, I'm really glad they were kind enough to wipe my memory out before they beamed me back down to my car. So yeah, pretty spooky. So you were on the phone with him, so like it was. Oh yes. So someone's reminding me that at one point I was actually on the phone with someone, and my husband was saying, you know, oh, you know, did you spend the day in Albuquerque? And I said, no, we've been driving and driving. And he said, oh, you must have missed the turn at Klein's Corners. And I said, no, I turned at Klein's Corners. We just haven't gotten to Vaughn. And so we should have gotten in at around 3 in the afternoon. And we got back pretty late at night. And I had some hungry, cranky people waiting for me when I got here. But it was just very interesting and kind of spooky. We just kind of talked and visited, and there was nothing ominous or scary while it was happening. It was just kind of baffling. And so again, if we were abducted and probed, I'm glad that I have no recollection of it, because who wants to remember that? There was one other story where we were in the living room watching TV, and I was on one end of the couch and somebody was on the other end of the couch, and we were just kind of chilling, watching our show. I think we were watching the Bakugan cartoon. And so suddenly we noticed that we were kind of like, so it was a regular couch with 3 cushions. Suddenly we were kind of like sinking down. It looked like something was settling down in the middle of the couch, kind of like just the couch cushion was depressing, as if some heavy entity was sitting on it to watch cartoons with us. And so we jumped up, and so did the ghost, and that was that. And so that was a little bit freaky. I think we went and watched TV in the bedroom after that. But if you ever want to hear some truly demonic and satanic noises, get pigs. Because when they scream and fight and beg for food, it does sound either like someone's being murdered or like some satanic seances happening. Have you heard the pig screaming? It's crazy. So I think that was about it for our ghost stories, our spooky stories tonight. So Andrew from DEA Exotics came on and he said that he loves these types of stories. Oh, yes. So I somehow came on. I must be watching from another location. That's spooky. This is a good one. So I don't know. Maybe I thought it was too scary to share, but before I was born, my family lived in Victoria, Texas, and it's just kind of a small little town. So my grandfather was a hardworking. He was a laborer, and my grandmother had let me think. My mom was already born, so several kids by that point. My mom was one of several. I think the youngest was a baby. So they found this really nice, I think it was a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom home for a very reasonable price. And it was in really nice shape. And it almost seemed too good to be true, of course. You know, a house is haunted when you find something like that.
Get some freeze.
Native Crib is freaking out over our stories, and Kevin Trappin just jumped on and said hello. So, all right, get your hot cocoa ready because this one's good. So, Grandpa was off working all the time, long days, nights, and Grandma was there, and she was always busy doing things around the house. Well, so my mom was little, and she slept in a bed with 2 of her sisters. And one night she woke up because someone was at the foot of the bed kind of tugging the blankets. And so she sat up. She thought, you know, some of the boys were messing around or something. And she sat up to kind of yell at them, and no one was there. So she laid back down, and at that point she was a little spooked. She kept feeling it again. So she, pressed her sisters, wake up. And they said, shh, just ignore them. And they go, wait, this has been happening. Well, they hadn't told her because she was the little sister and they didn't want to scare her. She'd been sleeping through it. So they all just kind of pretended like they were asleep, and the disturbance just kind of faded away after a short time. And so the house was unfurnished except for an old gas burning stove in the kitchen. And there was it was a 4-bedroom house because there was one room that was filled with all the belongings of the original owners, and it was locked with a big skeleton key, and they all were forbidden to go in there. Well, the children, being curious, it was a large keyhole. Hey, Justin Moore just jumped on here. The kids used to look through that big keyhole, and there was all kinds of beautiful antique furniture. Looked like it was from the Victorian era, stacked up to the ceiling around all 4 walls. But in the center of the room was an old, beautiful wooden rocking chair. And when the kids would look in, the rocking chair would start rocking itself. And they hadn't opened the door or anything. And so basically what's going on? So freaky. The kids obviously knew that there was some kind of disturbance in the house. So one night, one of the kids got up to get a drink of water or something. And when they went into the kitchen, there was like a whole bustling ball, like a fancy, all these people dancing with these wine goblets, all in Victorian dresses, like this whole party going on. And I mean, it was loud. There was music playing, and they seemed oblivious to her standing there. And so, of course, she decided not to get a drink of water and went and, just crept back into bed. And so she told her sisters about it in the morning, and they said, yeah, we see them sometimes. So finally, Grandma started seeing stuff. And so she told Grandpa, and they just said, we don't want to live here. And he sort of thought that they were just sort of spooking themselves. And so he asked them to stay and just stick it out. And so as the disturbances became more frequent, no one was sleeping. Everyone was just petrified all the time. Grandpa said, fine, I don't know what's really going on, but fine, we'll move. So Grandpa and great-grandpa, they came home from work, I think on a Friday night, and the plan was to pack everything up. So Grandma and the kids had everything all boxed and ready to go. And so maybe the stove was theirs. Anyway, everything was loaded up except for the stove. Are you getting freaked out? So someone had put the burners to the stove in the sink. And they were loading up the stove, and someone said, oh, the burners, are still in the sink. And so Grandpa went in the house to go get the burners, and the entire house was filled with Victorian festivities. There were ladies laughing and cackling with their wine glasses, and men dressed up in big Elizabethan collars. And he got the hell out of there. He was so scared. He ran out of there, jumped in the car, and they drove off. And everyone was asking him, what happened? And he said, I saw it. And so they drove about 3 miles down the road, and he slammed on the brakes and stopped dead in the tracks, dust just wafting into the air. And everyone sat up to look at what he was staring at in the road with horror on his face. The burners from the stove. Yeah, I don't think they stopped and got out and got him. Super scary. Yeah, I don't know. So we've got some more people. Gotta love carpet pythons jumped on, and DEA exotics is everybody's just kind of visiting. So let me know in the comment feed below what you think about these types of supernatural experiences. Do you think they're demonic? Do you think that they can be harmless? Do you think that they're not real? Do you not believe in them? It's pretty scary when you're in that situation, and these unexplainable things are happening. I can't imagine not being scared, but I don't know. It's things like that, or that we don't understand, or they just seem scary. I don't know that those ghosts or whatever they were did anything malicious ever or scary. But so DEA Exotics is saying he has ghosts in his house, and Justin Ward is saying that he believes in stuff. And Gabe from Gotta Love Carpet Pythons is just saying that they love hearing the stories. Yeah, so that was some spooky Halloween stories. Woo!
Gotta call my Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So I hope you guys liked this. Say goodnight to my beautiful Brecky Pelma Smith-Eye, who wanted to come out and show her Halloween colors on this occasion. And I hope you guys liked this one. If you did, let's see. Native Crib is saying, one time in Wisconsin, my cousins and I saw goat-like figures standing up behind a tree, and we ran into our cabin.
That is crazy.
Whew, that'd be scary. I don't know what's so freaky about goats, but they, scary.
Standing like a human form.
Yeah, that'd be pretty scary. Yeah. All right, so good night, everybody. I love you guys. Thanks for joining. Deadly Reptile Man and I have, let's see, J-Dog is saying, I've had experiences where stuff of mine somehow disappeared. And when he got them just a moment before. Creepy. That is freaky. So, good night to everybody. Oh, Native Crib is saying the next day we went to see if it was a tree and it was gone. Scary. Oh, no problem, Kevin. He was saying sorry he was late. Well, you'll have to go back and listen to all of our spooky stories. I hope you guys like this one. Let me know in the comment feed if you want some kind of follow-up spooky video. Hi, Shelly. I'm glad you're here. And everyone have a wonderful night, and we'll see you guys soon.
Peace out.